Today I want to talk about A Dance with Dragons. I've been saving it for the longest time because who knows when Winds of Winter is going to come out, but I finally broke down and read it this month, so I want to talk about it. Probably my favorite part in the entire book was, surprise, surprise, the Bran chapters, and the show is almost caught up to where Bran is in the book. I had completely forgotten that Cold Hands was in the book because I had read it so long ago, and then I was watching it without Cold Hands, and like everybody else, I assumed Cold Hands is Benjen Stark, but Jorah and Martin recently said, no, it's not Benjen Stark, it's someone else. So, anyway, my favorite part about, initially, when Bran gets to where he's going and he meets the three-eyed raven, and then I realized that his fate is to become a tree spirit. And then I was instantly really, really angry because I'm like, I thought he was having some crazy, amazing destiny where he was going to gain all this power and come back and save the Starks. And that's not at all what happened. And I was really, really mad because it wasn't what my expectations for it were. And then the more that I sat and I thought about it, it is pretty much the coolest thing to happen in the entire book, a book of really awesome events. The Bran storyline is the coolest because it confirms the belief system of the North old gods. Like, it confirms the fact that there are spirits in the tree watching and listening. And just the idea that that is real in this is just, it was so cool. The more I thought about it, the more that I love that. And it still kind of makes me sad that he's not gonna walk and do something amazing. But the fact that he's gonna live inside trees, and the fact that he went back and he saw Ned, oh, I was crying a little bit. I think a more apt title for this book instead of Dance of Dragons should be Stark Nostalgia, because there's a whole lot of Stark nostalgia happening in this book. And then later on, when Theon was at Winterfell, he thought that he saw Bran in the tree or heard him in the trees. Just the whole Bran storyline. A lot of the Bran in the books leading up to his journey to get to this place were boring to read. I love Bran because he's a Stark and a good character, but just it was so boring to read. But to see where his story was headed and where it ends, I think is immensely cool. And then my second favorite part of the book was Theon's chapters in Winterfell. The Reek chapters were horrifying to read. It's one thing seeing what Ramsay was doing to him on the television show, which was horrifying enough, but to understand from his perspective the psychological trauma that the torture has caused him, and he's so dehumanized to the point where dehumanized isn't even a strong enough word to describe how dehumanized he has become. He's less than human. He's a dog. He's dirt. It's just gut-wrenching what he's been broken down to. And I, in Feast of Crows, hated how George R. R. Martin used chapter titles of random characters instead of using their names, gave them weird titles. The one instance where I think this is okay is the Reek thing, because he starts off as Reek in this book, and then he transforms, and all his chapters at Winterfell, he has different names. And then he eventually turns back into Theon. And I love seeing the journey that he took regaining his old self. And I get a lot of judgments for this when I tell people, but Theon has always been one of my favorite POV characters from the book. I mean, I don't like him as a person, but I love him as a character, because the way that Martin writes him, I completely understand all of his actions. And I don't agree with them, but it's so understandable. And especially getting to see all his stuff at Winterfell and how he remembered stuff when he was a child, when he was being raised. And he was an outsider, just like Jon Snow was. As much as that was as a family for him, he was always on the outs. And the difference with Jon being on the outs too, Jon was actually of Stark blood, and Theon was just like this captive. And just getting more of his inner thoughts and how he regretted everything he did, and how Winterfell was the best place that he had in his life, his best home, but it wasn't even really a home to him. I don't know if I'm articulating this properly, because I feel really, really strongly about Theon and his journey, and it just, when he jumped out of Winterfell when he was escaping with Jane, I was so nervous that something bad had happened to him. And then when he showed up at the camp with Asha, I was so relieved to see him. So relieved to see him. Even what he did, killing those children, he didn't deserve the fate he got. I wouldn't wish that fate on my worst enemy. Cersei, who I hate more than any character in fiction, I wouldn't want that to happen to, because it's disgusting. And when I got the Reek chapters, I didn't want to read them. I stopped and I put the book away for a little bit because I couldn't handle it. I got nervous every time I saw him. But like seeing him transform in Winterfell, just it was so enjoyable to see his journey. And then I just mentioned Cersei. Cersei got a couple chapters, which also were some of my favorite chapters in the book, surprisingly. But it was because she was in such horrible pain during all of her chapters, which I take great pleasure in, opposite of how I feel about poor Theon. I really enjoyed Cersei in the dungeon, trying to get her way out of it, and they're all like, nope. And then her walk of shame, which I think should have been a little more violent, maybe some more stuff thrown at her, more cut her face up or something. I'm a horrible person, but I was wishing that her walk of shame was a little more violent and shameful, but it was good to read. I really liked it. But yeah, so those were my favorite things about the thing. While I'm speaking about the Starks, the Manderleys have emerged as some of my favorite characters, particularly sweet little Willa Manderley. When Davos went to go see them at the harbor, White Harbor, is that what that's called? And she's standing up for the Starks in the memory, and I'm all like, oh, I love you. I don't know who you are, but you have become one of my new favorite characters. And then later at Winterfell, when Woman Manderley stands up to the Freys and the Boltons, and the Frey child has been killed, and he's like, oh no, he's better off. He would have grown up to become a Frey. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, you're gonna get killed for that. But that's like the best line of this whole book. It was, so love Willa and Women Manderley. They have risen high on my love list. And then on the opposite side of that, Lady Destin, who is now on the top, not on the top because there's still Ramsay and Cersei, but she's further up on people I hate list. Her reason she just gives for hating Ned Stark is so stupid and selfish, and I hate her so much, and how if she has Ned's bones, she's not going to put them in the tomb. Ned is the most honorable man in all of Westeros to ever live in Westeros, and she hates him. It wasn't like the reason that she hates him is not at all in Ned's control, and it makes me so mad. Her story about hating Ned, I want her dead so bad. I want her torn apart. I just I hate her. I hated her so much. And then also speaking of the Starks is Arya. Her chapters again were like crazy exciting, but also like crazy upsetting what she's transforming into. In the same way that Bran is like so far away from being a Stark, Arya is kind of losing her identity as a Stark, but it's necessary for her to become this badass assassin. It upsets me. It's also the really cool thing, the whole warg and how she can jump into the wolves and other animals. I really love that aspect of their characters, but the way that she took out her hit, I guess, with the coin, that's how she ended up killing the man, was really cool. I was all like, what are you failed, you didn't, and then I realized what she had done to have him killed. It was really cool. Really cool. Who else? And Asha. I've always kind of liked Asha. Like, the Greyjoys are my favorite people, but I like Asha. Because she's another really strong female character. I was cheering against her because I knew those were Stannis' people attacking, and I hate Stannis, but like, if Stannis was able to defeat the Boltons in the name of Stark, I would have been really excited, and I would be down to liking Stannis for a little bit, but I don't know if that worked out. See, I'm confused as to the fact that Ramsay and them defeated Stannis, because if they had defeated Stannis, wouldn't he have found Theon and Jane because they had gotten to the camp? So I don't know if I necessarily believe Ramsay's letter that he's defeated Stannis. That could just be wishful thinking on my part, but I don't believe that they've defeated Stannis. I don't like Stannis, but I'm okay with him dying. I wish that he could kill the Boltons. That would make me super happy, because right now they're enemy number one. And I hope Jon lives and goes and kills Ramsay. But if Ramsay kills Jon, I will not be able to function for a long bit afterward. But yeah, Asha. I really loved Asha's chapters, and I don't know how much to say about that, but I enjoyed Asha's chapters as well. Who else? When Bran showed up in Jaime's chapter, I was flipping excited. So this is my theory. I never guess right what's gonna happen. It always is all like, what? But my theory is that Bran actually did get killed. Bran and Pod did get killed. And then they brought Bran back to life, and Pod is still dead. And they're like, see, we brought you back to life. If you go get Jaime for us, we will bring Pod back to life. But you have to go get Jaime. So when I saw that Bran was alive, I was super stoked. And then that she's like luring Jaime into some kind of trap. I've decided that I'm okay if Jaime dies. I don't really care. I'm like, he's redeemed slightly from the first book, but still all the chapters from his point of view, and I still can't bring myself to care about Jaime Lannister. Speaking of the Lannisters, again, Tyrion. I was so excited to see Tyrion. I didn't realize how much I missed Tyrion till I got his chapter perspectives. And the beginning of it, when he first got out of the crate and we first saw him, and he was kind of like drunk and sad, and I really found it interesting how he was so like broken up about killing his own father, which I never assumed he would. I thought it would be like a really positive thing that he killed his own father, but it's something that he carries with him really, really strongly, which is a testament to his good character, that he's affected so harshly by killing his own father. Someone with a far less character probably wouldn't care, because I didn't care. I was really excited when Tyrion was killed, and Tyrion had such a cool story arc. Everything that he went through in this book was super cool. So when you see Master Illyria, I'm all like, hey, look, I remember him. And then when he gets onto the boat with Aegon, oh my god, I was like, what? The big reveal of who this little boy is, that he's a Targaryen and there's another Targaryen alive. I was all like, what? But yeah, so Tyrion's whole storyline with them, and then when he runs into Jorah, and I knew immediately when it was a Westerosi person with the silver-haired girl on his lap, oh, of course, that's Jorah. And they had quite an interesting dynamic, hating each other, but they were both two people that I love strongly, and I'm all like, oh, why can't you guys get along? It was really traumatic when they were taken as slaves, and my beautiful, beautiful Jorah, who's not as handsome in the book as he is in the television show, but beautiful-hearted Jorah, who was beaten and branded when they became slaves, really, really upset me. Upset me a lot. Probably the whole taking them slaves is the thing that upset me the most, was Jorah's situation. And it just made me hate Dany even more, because that bitch, all that man ever did was love her, and that was what happened. We'll talk about Dany more in a minute. But anyway, I love seeing Jorah with Tyrion. And then Tyrion's whole interaction with Penny was very sweet. And not so sweet, but yeah, I loved all the Tyrion bits. He had such a good arc. I can't wait to see that like play out on the TV show. It was such a cool arc in that book. Really excited to see where Tyrion goes from now. I just love how resourceful he is, and how he can go from being Tyrion Lannister, all powerful, and then to a slave, and then he escapes with his wit. It's just, it's so good. He's so awesome. He's like the best. If all was right in the world, he would sit on the Iron Throne, because he's the smartest and the bestest. Okay, back to Aegon and Lord Connington. I didn't realize I liked Lord Connington until I found out that he was dying from the Grey Disease. I was all like, meh. And then at the end of the chapter, when you see that he's starting to get the stone, I was all like, oh, wait, no, I actually like you. And then when he gets home to his I guess, castle, and that the guy wants to marry him off, and he's all like, no, you can't do that, because I'm dying. But yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about Aegon. I'm really excited that he's in the whole thing, but I feel like he's gonna be like a little brat. I feel like he might be a brat. So, yeah. Oh, the other thing that was cool is then my camera quit recording. So, the next thing I was going to talk about Dorne, but quickly before I talk about Dorne, the other thing I wanted to mention about with Jorah was I appreciate the karma that at one point in his life he was a slave trader and now has become a slave. I noted that and I'm like, oh, I see what life gets you. But anyway, it still upset me seeing him as a slave. So I really loved all the stuff